All right, let's just get right into it. We've all been there, right? Scrolling through job sites looking for that one perfect opportunity. But what happens when you find it? You pour your heart into the application and then you get a rejection email 6 minutes later. Yeah, today we're going to unpack that exact moment.
So there you are, scrolling, and then you stop. You found it, the one. It's like the clouds part. The title is right, the work sounds amazing, and they even mention that one super niche skill you have. It honestly feels like fate.
So you go into beast mode. This isn't just about attaching a PDF. This is an art project. You spend the next few hours meticulously tailoring every single bullet point. You're debating verbs. Is it managed or did I orchestrate? You are putting some serious emotional energy into this thing.
Okay, you take a deep breath, you've written a cover letter that could win a Pulitzer, you glance at the clock, it's 2 p.m. on the dot, and you click submit.
You lean back in your chair, feeling pretty good about it. Maybe you go grab a coffee, little victory lap. You get back to your desk and your phone buzzes. It's an email. You see the sender is no reply, and the subject line says, update on your application.
Ugh, that feeling in the pit of your stomach. You already know what it says. Thank you for your interest, but... Now, here's the part that should really make you think. The math. 6 minutes, 360 seconds. How is it humanly possible for a person to open your resume, read through your life's work, and make a thoughtful decision in that time?
The simple, brutal truth is, it isn't possible. A person never even saw your application. You weren't rejected by a recruiter. You were filtered out, shadow banned by an algorithm before the real game even started. And that's exactly what we need to get into.
So let's try to peek inside this black box. You know, you'd think that companies are using this incredible technology to find the next visionary, the most creative mind out there. But that's not really what's happening.
And this quote really nails it. The goal of the AI isn't to find the best candidate, it's to find the safest one. It's about efficiency and reducing risk. A human is slow, but an AI can rip through thousands of applications in an hour. It's not looking for a diamond in the rough, it's looking for a predictable pattern that matches what the company already knows. And this is a perfect example of how that bias gets baked in. It's called the mirror effect. So you feed the AI a decade's worth of resumes from people the company considers successful. The AI crunches the data and notices a weird correlation. A lot of them played lacrosse. Now the AI doesn't understand teamwork or leadership, it just sees a keyword. So it concludes that lacrosse is a marker for success. It completely mistakes correlation for causation. So your amazing volunteer work, the AI just sees a data point that doesn't fit the pattern. You get a low score.
Now, this whole thing brings up a really important legal concept, disparate impact. The idea is that a policy, or an algorithm, can look totally neutral. There's no line of code that says reject candidates over 50. But if the things it does look for, like lacrosse, end up having that result, then it's discriminatory. And what's crucial here is that the intent of the programmer doesn't matter at all. The only thing that matters legally is the outcome.
Okay, that all sounds pretty bleak, I know. So the big question is, what can you actually do about it? Let's get into a practical survival guide for how to get past these robotic gatekeepers.
The very first thing you have to do is completely change your mindset. You have to stop writing your resume for a human being. Stop trying to be creative or charming. You need to start writing for the parser. That's the software that scrapes your resume for raw text. It doesn't see your beautiful design, it just sees words and data.
Okay, technique number 1, mirror their data. Basically, you need to copy their homework. Every job description is packed with keywords the AI is looking for. So if the job post uses some clunky corporate phrase like facilitated cross-functional team alignment, then that is the exact phrase you need to use. Don't simplify it to led cross-functional groups. The AI is extremely literal. It's looking for a direct match. You have to speak its language.
Next up, you have to avoid the parser's enemies. That slick 2-column resume template you love, it's a total disaster. The parser just reads straight across the page, left to right, mashing both columns together into nonsense. A thesaurus? Your worst enemy. Fancy fonts? Logos? Invisible. You have to keep it boring. Single column, standard font, standard headers. Your goal is to make it as easy as possible for the robot.
And finally, here's a more advanced move, using keyword proximity. See, the smarter AIs aren't just looking for keywords, they're looking for context. They want to see the skill, the tool, and the result all bundled together in the same sentence. So don't just say you're good at project management. Say you utilize Jira for project management, which increased delivery speed by 20%.
That proximity proves to the machine that you can actually do the thing.
All right, so those are tactics you can use right now. But looking at the bigger picture, the Wild West era of AI in hiring might be coming to an end. The legal system is slowly but surely starting to catch up and hold these companies accountable.
And this quote from attorney Rachel Dempsey really gets to the heart of it. Just because a computer is making the call doesn't mean it's above the law. You can't just buy a piece of software and pretend you're not responsible for its biased results. The company is still pulling the trigger.
And this tension is at the center of a huge lawsuit right now. The lawsuit claims that these AI-generated scores are causing qualified people to get tossed out without ever getting a fair shake from a human. But the company's defense is, hey, our AI is just an assistant. It surfaces good people, but it doesn't actually make the rejection decision. How this case turns out is going to have massive consequences for everyone.
And this lawsuit is part of a much bigger trend. For years, companies would hide behind the excuse that their algorithm was a trade secret. Well, that's not working in court anymore. Now we're seeing new laws, like one in New York City, that actually force companies to get their AI audited for bias. And pretty soon, the right to transparency, your right to know if a robot rejected you, is becoming the law of the land.
So, where's this all going? Well, even as the law tries to catch up, the technology on both sides of the hiring desk is accelerating, and it's creating this strange, slightly scary feedback loop.
The CEO of a company called Greenhouse calls it the AI doom loop. It's brilliant. Think about it. Job seekers use AI to help them write resumes and apply to tons of jobs. This floods companies with even more applications. So what do the companies do? They buy even more powerful AI to filter everybody out. It's an AI arms race, and it's just escalating.
Which leaves us with this final, kind of mind-bending question to chew on. What happens when it's just machines talking to machines? An AI writes a resume so that another AI will read it for a job that, let's be honest, might one day be done by an AI. Where in all of that do the actual humans fit into human resources anymore? That's the question we're all going to have to answer, and probably a lot sooner than we think.